Hello and welcome back. So in today's video I'm going to show you how I did the electronics for my weird guitar. It's super simple, but first we have to go through a couple of things. If you haven't watched the other video, I suggest you do that first, because otherwise you might not really understand what it is I'm doing. This is just an extra video for the people who want to, like, I don't know, recreate what I did or something like that. This is just an experiment guitar, so I'm not really using any expensive components or anything. These pickups are all cheap Chinese pickups from like a Squier or something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad pickups, they're just not something that I have invested a lot of in. So I'm not recommending that you use them or anything. This is just an experiment. We have a neck pickup right here. It's just a regular cheap Chinese pickup. Then we have a middle pickup here, and I've removed the EMB string pull piece. I basically just pulled them out and then I mounted the pickup here. That means that this pickup can only pick up those strings. And then we have the last bridge pickup here, which is the opposite basically, except it's 3. So it's the E, the B and the G string. Next part we have is we have a double switch. So this can take 2 components, and that's because we want to have a volume control for the bass pickup and for the other 2 pickups. Then we have 2 tone knobs, and one is for the guitar and one is for the bass. And then we have a 3-way switch, because I want to be able to switch between the neck and the bridge pickup, and also just keep the middle pickup, that is going to be the bass pickup, separate away from the other pickups. So all we're going to do now is basically we're going to sort all these components together, and I'm just going to show you how I did it. First thing we need to do is we need to put down our ground wires. And we need a ground wire from this component to this, and then to this. So basically connect these 3 first, is all we're going to do. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to measure out a piece of wire that goes from these from these 3 components. And we're going to make it a little bit longer, because we don't want things stretched. And then we're gonna strip the wire, and if you don't know what strip the wire mean, is you cut away the plastic shielding that is protecting the inner wire. And we have to cut away quite a lot of wire on one side, because we need to feed it through both of these 2 lugs and then connect it to the side right here. So we're gonna need more than I just cut off. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I've taken a fair amount of wire, and I need to take away a little bit more. Something like this. I hope you can see it. And then I'm just going to fold these. Fold those down like that. So now I'm going to be able to feed this wire through there. Connect both of those, because I need to ground both the switches, parts of the switches, and connect it to the pole. And now I can hold this in place, and I can see, take a pen, use something that you can draw and see clearly with. I'm just going to make a little mark. I don't know if you can see that, but I made a little mark there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scissor, and I'm going to try to cut away that piece. Now you can obviously do this with a bunch of smaller pieces, but I like to have one wire connect all 3 parts, because I think that makes everything looks just a little bit nicer, and you don't need to have a bunch of wires going in all directions everywhere. And then I can fold the wire like this, and I cut alongside. Now you have to be careful so you don't cut the actual copper inside, because that's no good. I'm just trying to pinch the sides. And I'm sorry if I'm not showing it correctly. I haven't really figured out how to show super tiny details that I'm making at the same time as I'm making. I know I could maybe use like a micro lens or something and maybe get things a little bit closer, but it would be really hard to build things at the same time. Anyway, so now I have a wire that is stripped in the middle, And so what I can do is I can feed it through here, and then we can put solder down. Now usually I would tin the wire first, but if I tin that wire before putting it in place, it's going to be really hard for me to get it into this tiny little hole. So that's why we're just going to tin it and solder it in place at the same time. And it's one of those times when you are forced to break rules. The wire is on the side here. No, you can't see it. Now the wire is on the side here, so I'm gonna solder it to the side because it doesn't have a top like the other ones. So I'm just gonna hold it in place and feed some solder. I hope you can see that the wire goes through both those legs and then to the side and is soldered in place. And now I'm just gonna tin this part here real quick. And then I'm gonna try holding it in place and heating up the metal part of the pot as I feed in a couple of blobs, and hopefully it's all gonna get connected real good, something like that. And now hopefully you can see I have some of this wire going a little bit too long there, so we're just gonna snip it off. It's not a big deal. It's always better to have too much wire and then cut some off than realizing you have too little and that you have to basically just cut a new piece of wire. You can do a bunch of interesting and weird experiments with old guitar pots and things that you've taken out of guitars. There's no real reason to throw things away unless they're broken. We're going to start off by finishing off the 2 tone control, and it's super simple. We need to put in one of those tiny little green caps, and I'm not using anything special here. I'm just taking the things that have come with cheap guitars, because I've decided that if I actually like this guitar and I think it's interesting and it works well, then I'm gonna like try to nerd out on what are the best parts for building one of these guitars. So I connect it to the middle leg and then to ground, which is the back of the pot basically. I'm just gonna heat this up, feed in a tiny bit of solder to get things flowing. I'm just telling you guys that I don't really care about the parts at this stage, because I know there's people gonna maybe say like that this sucks or something, which I mean, you're obviously entitled to think that. You're the master of your own opinions. But just know that I'm not really interested in that aspect of the guitar at this moment. And then we just take the next one and we put that through the leg in the middle too. And then we pull it back and we solder it. So there you can see it's just from the middle leg to the back of the pot basically. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tin these lugs on the switch. We have 4 of them and we're just gonna tin them all. Something like that. Now we're gonna put in wires to the 2 tone controls, and it's basically just measure out how much wire you need and cut a little bit more, strip, and then tin the wire. The next one gonna be a little bit more easier for you guys to see, but I just basically do both of these 2 volume controls, but it is one. So the upper 3 legs is 1 volume and the lower ones is another. Cut a piece of wire that I think is going to be the right length, measure out, you know, re-tin it, and all that stuff. And then I just hold it up to the right point to connect the wire, and I feed it through the loop and it's connected. And then I hold it to the same leg again, but I hold it but to the upper leg, so it's the same side, just, you know, one leg higher. And then there is connection. So basically just that leg there is connected to that, and then the lower leg underneath is connected to the next pot that is out of frame right now. And now we're going to do the 3 ground wires that we need that goes away from this. So all we need is 3 pretty long pieces, about maybe 20 centimeters or something like that, give or take. We strip one end of the wires. We don't have to strip them that much. You can see taking away a little bit more than what is normal, but not that much. And then we take these 3 wires, we pinch them together, we twist the wires that we have stripped together, and then just put some solder to basically pre-tin them on all these 3 wires to keep them together. So we have this little weird lump of wires. 2 of these are going to go to the output jacks, because we're going to have 2 output jacks. So ground to the bass and ground to the guitar. And the 3rd one is to the bridge, or the claw in this instant, since we're doing a Strat. So we just have to heat up, put in a little bit more solder to make things flow. And now they are connected there. It's pretty easy. Now we have to just connect the pickups. Okay, so let's try to see if we can show you now. So this is the middle pickup that comes in right here. The live wire, this white one, goes directly to this under connection, like that. And then on the upper connection, we take a wire, and I'm using red right now, but you don't need to, but it's just to show you guys where things get connected, so I hope it's not too confusing. If it is, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. This one will go to the switch, but if you don't have a switch, you can have the pickup go straight to that lug. So let's move over to the switch, where things are gonna maybe seem a little bit more complicated, but it's not that complicated. Okay, so here comes the wires from the neck pickup, and we have a bare wire, and we all know that that's ground. So we have to find a way to like hold this so that we don't have too many weird wires sticking out in all directions. So I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter. I'm going to strip it back, and I'm going to tin it. And then we're going to hold it to the first position, and we're just going to heat both of those parts up and make them float into one. So that's the first connection. And then I'm going to just take the volume pot here, and I'm just going to try to pinch this wire in under one of these legs like that, and then I'm going to cut the rest up. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm super annoyed with ground wires going in all directions everywhere, and especially the bare ones you have to be really careful with, because they can short out on things and create a mess, and then you have to go through the entire guitar, and you'll be like, I don't understand why I'm having troubles. And then you're like, oh yeah, right, it's because I'm using bare wires. Bare wires are always a problem. They're always an issue. They are always annoying. So if you don't have to use them, don't do it. It's, it's one thing if like a pickup comes with bare wires like these. I wouldn't use these guitar pickups unless it was an experiment, because they're always annoying. Okay, so I'm just gonna tin this wire too, and this one is the live wire from the bridge pickup. Now, for some of you guys, you're gonna see that basically what I'm doing is I'm building a Telecaster. I'm just making things a little bit weird by adding a bass. So it's like a Telecaster bass hybrid hiding inside a Stratocaster. Now, if that's not confusing, I don't know. then you're a clever girl, I suppose. I'm just gonna pinch the wires under this pot as well. And I'm just doing that because frankly tired of wires jumping everywhere. Like that. And then we just put solder here too as well. I hope you can see it. It's almost out of frame, but not completely. Something like that. And we're actually almost done. We are very close to being done with this. We have a couple of more wires we have to attach, but then we're gonna be done. So now what we have to do is we have to attach a wire across these lugs here. And all I've done is I've cut a super tiny little wire that you can see here. And I'm just gonna try to feed it through these lugs and basically just solder them in place across these. It's one of those super tiny fiddly things, and it's going to be super hard for me to show you. I'm sorry if you can't see anything I'm doing. Something like that. I hope you can see it. It goes from that one to that one, over to that one to that one. And that's where we connect the wire from the volume pot. So now we basically have done the same thing. I hope you can see. So basically, on the upper, the tone is connected to the volume and the switches, and on the lower, the tone and the pickup itself is connected to the volume. And now we just have 2 more wires to connect, and then we're done. And that's the lead wire up here and the lead wire down here. So what we're gonna do is just cut some wire and pre-tin it. And then we're gonna try it to the middle lug right there. I hope you can see it. And I hold my soldering iron to it, and they melt together just like that. So now we're done. We have the pickups going to the switch, going to the pot, the tone pots go to it well, and all connects out. We have a bunch of wire coming off of it. It looks kind of crazy maybe, but one of these blacks are for ground to the bridge, and the other 2 are just for 2 grounds for each of the output jacks, and then 2 leads for the output jacks. So it might look crazy, but it looks, I mean, it looks crazy, yes, but it will make more sense in a bit. Okay, so when you're gonna go to attach them to the output jack, you have 2 connections, and as you can see, one goes to a ring that is connecting to the sleeve. And all you need to know is that one is the ground. So we take the black wire and we melt them together like that. And if that's ground, you only have 2 connections. If that's ground, then the other one must be the lead. Okay, so now that I'm done, I've connected the amp to one of the output jacks, and now I can just hit the pickups, and I can hear that it's only this one. I can roll the volume, and I can hear that it works. Now I can disconnect this one, and I can connect the other one. And now let's put the switch in the neck position. It's only the neck. Let's put it in the bridge. It's only the bridge. Let's put it in the middle. And let's see the volume. It works. Everything works as it's supposed to do. You can obviously not really try out the tone controls at the moment to see how well they are. But I can hear a slight difference. Anyway, that's that video. The controls for this guitar is going to work fine. If you thought this was good, please like, comment, and subscribe. There will be more cool, weird things coming. And until then, you can also watch some of the other videos that I've already put out. Let me know what you think. If there was anything that I did that was confusing, leave a comment and I'll try to explain it as well as I can. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay awesome and cool and be nice to someone today. Yeah. Bye bye.